Hi everyone, welcome to episode 5, Stairways of Stone. I hope you enjoy it. This giant Numenorean structure is an iconic part of the scene. It offers us a glimpse into Middle-earth's glorious past, now slowly crumbling under the weight of time, being consumed by nature and fading into the hillside. In the Fellowship of the Ring book, Tolkien tells us that upon Amon Hen were the remains of an ancient road that had dwindled to little more than a path. In places where the hill grew steep, stairs had been hewn, although over time they had become cracked, worn and split by tree roots. And on screen this is a real eye-opening moment. It's one of my favourite parts of the film, but the important word there is moment. It's barely on screen. It's on screen here, and there's another shot here. And this is a behind the scenes shot from the appendices that I found, where we can see some of its construction a bit better as well. So once I gathered a lot of reference images, I started the way that I always start. I just start sketching it out. I make little notes about the structure, try and understand the structure a bit more, get that blueprint firmly in my head for when I start modelling it. And it's just building familiarity with it more than anything. Now here I started looking at how many blocks there were and what sort of scale the blocks might be, but I had to sort of stop myself and think, actually it's not really that helpful to look at that because this is a giant stairway. So really my first job should be to work out the scale of each step and take it from there. So I went into my workshop and just grabbed some old bits of polystyrene and XPS foam, and I'm going to use these to gauge the initial scale of what we're building. Now this is one of the Frodo models for the board. It needs stripping and repainting, and I initially picked this one up to use as a scale reference, but in the actual shot of the film it's Elijah Wood's character, it's not a scale double, so what I need to use is actually a full-size human. So I picked up this set when it got re-released, and I'm just going to use the Aragorn model from inside here. There he is. So that'll give me a far better idea of what scale it should be based on all the reference that I'm using. The height looks about right. The width where I've chopped out that little piece looks about right, so we'll just give it a quick measure. And just draft some little steps up the side. And I just built a very quick 3D model and an extra step at the bottom. And this is going to be the first one. So this first one was a scale that I thought would be about right, but I also did a second version slightly bigger because it's literally a monumental scale that I'm looking at rather than just a normal stairway. But we'll get these cleaned up and we'll have a look at them. So that's the original block that I use as reference, and that's the smaller one that I printed first. And next to it there is the larger one. When we pick up the model and we look at the step size compared to the character's feet, it actually looks pretty good, but it's just simply not big enough. This is far more like it. This feels to me more like a monumental structure, so I'm going to use this as a starting point. Now all I'm doing here is doing very, very basic building blocks of the structure, and this is going to act as a bit of a guide for me. At this point I've worked out how many steps there are, and I'm just trying to fit it together almost as loosely as possible really, because this isn't anything that I'm going to use as a final version. This is just for me to keep referencing on as I'm building the actual version that we'll use in the scene. this is the final model. Very, very rough version, but according to the scale that I've defined for the whole model, this is about right, and we'll just, as I say, use it as a guide in the background so we're not veering too far away from what I've worked out already. And then really it's time to go back again to the footage, and now we really start digging down into the details and making sure that we really know what's going on, and we're counting up blocks, and we're noticing where all those little breaks are in those joints, and we start to then build up this new structure more in line with what it actually looks like.
The decoration in the stone here is Numenorean, and we can see that in other places around Middle Earth, and also in Aragorn's sword, Anduril, Flame of the West, as you can see here. So now we're in ZBrush, we're going to start doing our detail work now. This surface is far too clean. We need to knock it back and chip away at the stone, and that's what we'll be doing next. to here, I'd realised I'd made a bit of a mistake. At some point I straightened up the stairs and completely forgotten to put them back. So to go back into Maya, edit the basic shapes again, build the structure back up, re-import it into ZBrush, and then I had to reorient all the stairs that we'd done back into place, and then we could carry on with that sculpting. That's our model complete for this phase. All of the detail work's done. Now we need to go and start clearing up any edges that are intersecting between different parts of the model. We need to start separating pieces and filling gaps. This will make it easier for us to print, and also for when we make molds and cast pieces as well. We need to make cutouts so each piece can fit back together like a kit when we're constructing it again. We also need to make something called keys, which is basically where you have a key and a hole and it connects to each other. All the time spent here basically makes it far easier for us to reconstruct it later on when we're building the board. This was a huge piece of work for me. I don't often say that I'm proud of things that I make, but I definitely am this time. I really hope that everyone's enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and please share it with anyone or in any groups where you think it might be of interest. It would really help the channel out. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!